Where do you want to go first?
Let's start at the beginning.
Stop me if you've heard this one before. How many Spider-Men does it take to save the Spider-Verse? Well, it depends if you're going into it or across it. With the sequel to the beloved animated feature Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse coming to theaters next year, it's time we look all across the Spider-Verse at just who could be making an appearance in the blockbuster sequel. With an unlimited amount of universes comes a virtually unlimited amount of Spider-People, each with their own unique backstories and in some cases, power sets.
Watch and learn, kid. I'll quiz you later.
Let's have a look at just who could be wall-crawling their way onto the big screen right now. Miguel O'Hara has actually already made his animated on-screen debut, and is the only Spider-Person besides Miles and Gwen to appear in the teaser. Also known as the Spider-Man of the future, Miguel goes by the moniker of Spider-Man 2099. And speaking of comic book companies that probably should have been shut down 99 years ago, Miguel worked as an engineer for Alchemax in Nueva York in the year 2099. The same company that produced the spider that gave Miles his powers in his universe was also responsible for this slick outfitted spider-themed hero as well. A combination of unethical gene splicing and Miguel's drink being laced with questionable substances saw the birth of Spider-Man 2099. On top of the usual spider powers, he was also given several others, including talons and fangs. He is an absolute genius and is known for time traveling and dimension hopping. As seen in the post-credit scene of Into the Spider-Verse, Miguel may already have that one down. Mayday Parker is the first child of MJ and Peter Parker in the future on Earth 982. I always think it's so adorable when kids want to go into the family business. Though in this particular instance it's any mother's nightmare. May was originally kidnapped on instruction from the Green Goblin, and this universe version of Peter stopped at nothing to get her back. He even lost a leg in the gruesome battle with his longtime nemesis, but eventually he and MJ were reunited over the return of their lost daughter. It was this wake-up call that caused Peter to retire to be a better husband and father. Life is funny though, and eventually young Mayday began to develop the same powers as her father. Despite her parents' best attempt to keep her from fighting crime, eventually Mayday took on the monikers of Spider-Girl and Spider-Woman. Just imagine a slight change in continuity, and Mayday is introduced as the child of Peter B. Parker from the first Spider-Verse film, several years later. Now that's some page-to-screen adaptation that I want to see. What If has officially been brought to the small screen with seemingly hundreds of new iconic moments taking place among the multiverse of the MCU. We saw the Watcher fight Ultron, Hulk exploded, and we saw that Peter Parker survived the zombie apocalypse. Equipped with a plucky attitude and the cloak of levitation, it's safe to say that this Spider-Man has seen darker times than most. It makes all the sense in the world when you think about it. This version of Peter comes from a multiverse of different dimensions that we even saw several characters pass through. Sounds very similar to the first Into the Spider-Verse. You know, that movie where several different heroes came through a portal to fight a multiversal threat? Given that Sony and Marvel are already playing nice with properties like Venom and possibly Morbius, who's to say that the most successful animated Marvel projects from each studio couldn't find a way to have a playdate as well? Ben Reilly is one of the coolest and most well-known versions of the spider-themed webhead. His backstory is unlike many other heroes from any universe, because he actually started out as a clone of Peter Parker. You know that meme of Spider-Man pointing at himself? Yeah, that. The villain, known as the Jackal, created several copies of Spider-Man with the intention of having them destroy the friendly neighborhood hero. In their first encounter, however, Jackal kicked the bucket, leaving some lost clones without a leader. The one who would eventually become Ben Reilly exiled himself for 5 years. He returned to New York after learning that Aunt May Parker was not doing well and wanted to help. Ben joined Peter in his pursuit against crime and donned the suit of the Scarlet Spider. The two fought side by side, even confusing who was the clone and who was Peter from time to time, until Peter eventually stood down, leaving the Spider-Man moniker wide open for Ben to take. Ready for this pitch? Okay, let's take one of Spider-Man's most well-known villains, like Green Goblin or Doc Ock. Yeah, Doc Ock, let's go with that. Okay, now he creates a device that allows him to transfer his consciousness into the mind of a deceased Peter Parker. Wait, really? That happened already? The hero known as Superior Spider-Man certainly didn't start out that way. Once Otto Octavius transferred his mind into the body of a radioactive spider-bite-powered hero, he planned on ruining the reputation of one of the world's finest heroes. What he did not expect was to be influenced by some residual memories that would actually show him the value of responsible hero work. He has destroyed several villains he used to fight alongside, and is by far one of the most complex versions of Spider-Man who could appear in Across the Spider-Verse. Cindy Moon is an unsung spider hero. She was a classmate of Peter's who was present during the fateful field trip that would change Peter's life forever. Peter was bitten by a spider chock full of radiation from a particle accelerator. This eventually gave Peter super strength and spider-like reflexes, allowing him to become the Amazing Spider-Man. That much we know. Until very recently, we believed that spider bit Peter, crawled away, and left this world for the big web in the sky. However, before departing, the spider actually bit the ankle of Peter's classmate Cindy. Cindy's powers manifested themselves, and she actually went away with Ezekiel Sims to train. She stayed in a bunker for years to avoid being hunted by the predator Morlun. Eventually, she emerged a new hero, Silk, and would go on to help Spider-Man fight several of his usual suspects, as well as develop a few of her own. Doppelganger is a literal monster. Apparently, making clones of Peter Parker is the hottest new trend. Unlike Ben Reilly or Peni Parker, who turned out on the whole similar to the original, Doppelganger is missing a lot of Peter's best features. Some spider people add the fake extra 4 appendages like the Iron Spider suit, but Doppelganger actually has 4 extra arms and carnivorous sharp teeth. He was created by Magus during the Infinity War and is extremely evil and essentially mindless, controlled by whomever he gravitates toward at the time, such as Magus, Demogoblin, or even Carnage. Doppelganger could flip the script of the first Spider-Verse film by having an evil version of Spider-Man find his way to Miles Morales. Ollie Osnick is the best example of an extreme fanboy seeing his wildest dreams come true. Unfortunately, he started out on the wrong side. He idolized Doc Ock and even led a supervillain fan club. Gifted with intelligence, Ollie created his own mechanical suit and extreme cosplayed as Kid Ock, and even robbed a toy store. Eventually, Ollie found a better role model, and took a particular liking to Peter Parker after Peter set him straight from idolizing crime and villainy. He even transformed his octopus arms to look more like spider legs, and bought a Spider-Man Halloween costume, taking on the new moniker of Spider Kid, patrolling the city for bullies and bad guys. Once in college, Ollie was one of those kids that grew up extremely well. He focused on his fitness and really started to look like a comic hero, though he had developed other hobbies. However, when his girlfriend was attacked, Ollie Osnick redesigned his suit and for the first time appeared as a legitimate hero, the Steel Spider. Ollie at any point in his life would provide either insane action or hilarity in Across the Spider-Verse. Cassandra Webb doesn't have your typical spider-themed backstory, but I mean her name is Webb, so you kinda have to go that route, right?
Whoa, who are you, lady?
Later taking on the name Madam Webb, Cassandra is actually a mutant who was born blind with the power to see the future. She is less of a spider hero and more of an ally to Peter Parker. Picture Aunt May, but as a psychic. There have been times where a younger version of herself has played the role of Spider-Woman, even teaming up with the likes of Jessica Drew, but more often than not, she is a valuable friend and resource to Peter Parker. Most of the time, she is not much of a fighter, but can outsmart any villain, as she always sees them coming. Plus, she has a very powerful friend to meet them in her place. Madam Webb is an eccentric character who could add a lot of complexity to the Spider-Verse sequel. Remember when Mysterio was a big fat phony and told Peter that he was from Earth 833 in Spider-Man Far From Home?
This is Earth, Dimension 616. I'm from Earth 833.
But really, he was from the Stark unemployment line? Well, it turns out that despite his white lie, he referenced a real place. Earth 833 is well known for being the home to William Braddock, better known as Spider UK. Billy is a captain, a hero, and has plenty of comic experience with the multiverse already. He has taken part in fighting Morlun's multi-dimensional Great Hunt, as well as Spider-Geddon. This would be a great character for Miles and Gwen to stumble across, as certain cultural differences as well as his established leadership role could make for on-screen animated gold. If there's one creative choice that mostly everyone loved about the first Spider-Verse film, it was the differing animation styles that represented the different universes. I think we are all hoping they continue on with that kind of creativity, and just based on the teaser, it seems that they will be. It seems like Miles may be doing the universe hopping this time, and I hope he takes a visit to the Mangaverse. In this universe, Spider-Man is actually a ninja, and member of the Spider Clan. He became its last surviving member when Venom ended the life of his uncle. He lives in his universe's version of Japan, and has all the same powers as most spider people. Not only would adding this character give us a great new character with a unique spider backstory, but it also allows us all the insane visual stylings that the Mangaverse has to offer. Peter rarely lives to make it to a ripe old age, but there have been others who have taken over the moniker. One of those people is Ezekiel Sims. Once Peter had his life taken by Morlun, Ezekiel, a much older man, took up the role, with a fresh new jacket I may add. He joined Spider UK's multiversal army of spider people and eventually would lose his life as well, but not before passing on his wisdom. Ezekiel is a great Spider-Man, and has even been a mentor for characters like Silk. A much older Spider-Man would add a great dynamic to the Spider team and Across the Spider-Verse. 2 Spider people is always better than 1, and if the Spider-Verse sequel can up the ante, there may be no limit to the amount of 8-legged freaks we could see. Which versions of Spider-Man are you looking forward to seeing take on the multiverse?